chance to do that at these rallies yet. And we have a couple of experts here, and I'll introduce them in just a second. The other thing we're going to do is, I think often because we are in a blue state, we ask, what can we do to help our sister Indivisible groups in a red state? And I have an email that I want to read to everyone today that is from the Buchanan County Indivisible group, which is a county in Iowa, just so you can understand a little bit of what they're feeling. And we'll do an action today to help lift them up, because they need some of our energy. So we'll talk about that a little later. And then we're going to attempt to do our first mass tweet. Alex is going to help lead us in that. Go Alex. And this is just an attempt. There are so many issues to address. So this is a quick and easy way for us to bring up Trump's taxes every week that we're out here. So we'll do that, and we'll talk about how to do that as we get closer to it. And if we have time, we'll have a little bit of spoken word at the end. One thing, if you can do when you're signing in today too, is we're always looking for artists. And you don't have to be a professional. So whether you sing or you play the guitar or you're writing about what's going on, we would love to hear your voice at this rally. So if you are signing in and you know of somebody or you would like to sign up yourself, make a note of that so we can reach out to you. So with that, I want to introduce two individuals. One is our guest speaker, Mike Dash. Mike is over here, and he's going to speak over here to sort of protect from the wind a little bit. So Mike's a long-term environmental activist in the Seattle area. Mike, we thank you for that. We need that activism. He's worked on climate issues with 350 Seattle, Shell No, and the Sierra Club, among others. Yes, and then following Mike, we're very happy to have Rain Adaman here, who is the advocacy manager for the Washington Environmental Council. So we all know that locally we have plenty of environmental issues, and then you add Trump and Pruitt to that, and the issues become larger. So these gentlemen are going to take us through what we can do about them. We'll wait for this guy to pass. So with that, let's all gather around over here, and we'll let Mike start telling us about what we can do to support the environment.
Come close if you can't hear me. I want to make sure everybody can hear me, and I'm going to talk really fast because in 5 minutes I'm going to try to cover. Is this better? Well, come on close because I can't get the microphone any closer to my teeth.
You should get closer to the speaker.
Okay. Is this better?
Yes.
Okay, so here we go. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. We are in a really desperate situation. If we are going to keep the climate below 2 degrees warming, never mind the 1.5 in the Paris Accords, if we're going to keep it below 2 degrees warming, we can get about 550 more gigatons of carbon into the atmosphere. The problem is the fossil fuel companies already have 5 times that much in their reserves. They can't burn it all and have us still live on a livable planet. And where are we right now? We're at about 400 parts per million carbon in the atmosphere. Now it takes a while for the atmosphere to catch up to the carbon level, but the last time it was 400 parts per million in the atmosphere, the ocean was 20 feet higher than it is now. 20 feet higher than it is now, that's goodbye Seattle, goodbye San Francisco, goodbye London, that's goodbye every coastal city in the world. And we're close to thawing the Siberian permafrost. If we thaw the permafrost, a whole bunch of methane goes into the atmosphere, and we could be looking at 5 or 6 degrees warming in only a decade or two. The last time it was that warm on this planet, hundreds of millions of years ago, there were alligators at the North Pole. And even though we're that close to catastrophe, the Trump administration wants to encourage more drilling, more fossil fuels, and more exploration. That is unacceptable.
Yes.
Now we come to the audience participation part. I'm going to say, who can stop them? We're going to say, we can. Who can stop them?
We can!
Let's keep going. Now let's talk about sea level a little bit more. Here in the United States, we've got $1.25 trillion of real estate at risk from ocean rise.
Wow.
And even though we've got that, and even though the Trump administration is very friendly to real estate people, the Trump administration is still packing itself with climate deniers. That is unacceptable. Who can stop them?
We can!
Now how about outside the United States? Sea level rise. In Bangladesh, we're going to see tens of millions of refugees in the next decade or two because that's a low-lying coastal country. It's going to make today's climate refugee crisis look like a footnote. And in the Himalayas, the glaciers are melting. Hundreds of millions of people depend on those glaciers for their drinking water. We've already got about 300 million people in India with insecure access to fresh drinking water. And here's where, as Noam Chomsky points out, the two existential threats to humanity on this planet come together. That's nuclear war and climate change. Because India and Pakistan, they're already on the verge of war. They're both nuclear states. If they go to war over water, which is completely possible, and that's a nuclear war, then we get nuclear winter on this planet, we get famine, and that's curtains for the human race. And yet, the Trump administration wants to build more pipelines. That's unacceptable. Who can stop them?
We can!
So let's talk about a couple of things that we can do here in the Northwest. And by the way, the Northwest is known in the fossil fuel industry as the place where fossil fuel projects go to die.
Yeah. Yes!
So the Canadian government has just given approval for building a new pipeline. It's the Kinder Morgan Trans Mountain Pipeline. That would bring tar sands oil to the Canadian coast, and then it would get on barges. It would multiply the number of barges in the Sailor Sea by about 7 times. It'd come past the San Juan Islands and go out the Straits of Juan de Fuca. First problem is we get a spill out there, that's curtains for the orcas. And you can't clean up an ocean spill of tar sands oil because it sinks. You can't get it off the surface. The other problem is, of course, where's it going? It's going off to foreign markets to get burned. So, 3 things that we can do about that pipeline. The first one is, we're going to tell our senators, we want you to tell the Canadians, we do not want you to build that project. We don't want you bringing those barges through the Sailor Sea.
Okay.
Second thing, Canadian First Nations are mounting legal challenges to that pipeline. How can we support them? We can go to a fundraiser here in Seattle. It's at the Ballard Elks on Thursday, the 20th of April. No, the 20th of March.
No, April.
No, it's the 20th of April. And there's pieces of paper coming around that have that written down. Come there, we'll do a fundraiser for the First Nations Legal Challenge. And the third thing is, if you haven't already signed it, 350 Seattle has a Pledge of Resistance. Let's sign that. And the Pledge of Resistance says, I pledge to support or engage in civil disobedience, peaceable civil disobedience against new fossil fuel projects in the Pacific Northwest. So one more time, who can stop them?
We can! We will!
Well, thank you very much, Mike. My name is Rain. I'm the Puget Sound Advocacy Manager at Washington Environmental Council. And we, incidentally, are celebrating 50 years this year, working for a better, healthy Washington for all Washingtonians. And so one thing that we've done over the years is engage community, engage members, engage our own jurisdictions and elected officials in Olympia to make positive change for a healthy community and a healthy environment for Washington. And I think what's happened in the federal level in the last couple months is really shocking, and it really does have a trickle-down impact on our work here in Washington. President Trump's draft proposal for EPA is proposed to slash budget by 93%, basically from 28 million to 2 million, which is measly for the amount of work that needs to be done to recover Puget Sound, protect our shorelines, protect our orcas, to protect our salmon, and also to protect the jobs that are so dependent on Puget Sound. Just want to bring some numbers to you. Puget Sound supports 3,200 shellfish jobs that generate $184 million every year. And 80% of statewide tourism and recreational dollars are tied to Puget Sound. And the marine industry itself includes fishing fleets, ports, and seafood processing, generates $30 billion annually. And on a federal level, the Puget Sound Geographic Program provides grants to state, local, and tribal governments to implement projects to improve water quality, to restore fish passages, increase salmon habitat, and protect shorelines. And every EPA dollar spent on Puget Sound recovery has literally leveraged more than $24 in matching funds. That's incredible. So we are really dependent on the EPA and NOAA and other federal agencies to provide the resources that communities need. Senators Cantwell and Senator Murray, along with their federal delegation of Representative Heck and Representative Kilmer, really have the chance to hold the line and make sure that these cuts don't come to fruition. We need to make sure that the federal government be a partner in making the Puget Sound a healthy and recoverable body of water. And we are fighting back, and we need you to help out. We put up 5 ways you can protect Puget Sound on our website. So go to Washington Environmental Council website, look under Puget Sound. We're working with national groups on a national coalition to make sure that those funds don't disappear. Another important impact that came to me the other day when I heard on the radio that Mustafa Ali, who is a senior advisor and assistant associate administrator for environmental justice with the EPA, who served for 2 decades advocating for communities that have been burdened by air pollution, water pollution, and discriminatory practices. And he quit. He resigned because he saw no chance for the EPA to do the good work like they've been doing, funding communities like South Park and Georgetown to clean up the toxic Superfund site on the Duwamish River, or sites in Bellingham or Tacoma. I mean, these are legacy toxics that need to be cleaned up for the environment and for the communities that are impacted by them. So we're fighting back. We really need to make our voices heard. But the great thing is we live in Washington State. And Washington State has opportunity to lead in so many ways. And we need to make sure that we can take action locally that enables us to see change. I just want to point out that we're working in the state legislature to pass legislation that would better protect our Salish Sea from the Kinder Morgan pipeline. We're working to reduce toxic pollution in all communities, making sure that water is life for our agriculture and sustainable rural development, and working to pass the Clean Energy Transition Act, along with Alliance for Jobs and Clean Energy. It's focused on investing 21st century infrastructure and delivering economic and environmental justice to communities disproportionately impacted by poverty and pollution. And that bill has a hearing this afternoon in Olympia, and we have about 150 people attending to show strength. So a couple calls to action that I enlist you to help with. One is there's a petition going around that is going to Governor Inslee, urging him, demanding him that he stop all fossil fuel projects, both coal and oil infrastructure projects, from being built here in Washington. We already have 1.3 million public comments that have been submitted on various proposals on coal and oil in the last 3-4 years. And in April, we plan to deliver those petitions and those comments to Governor Inslee directly, because that really shows, wow, that's a hell of a lot of comments, 1.3 million comments. We're encouraging you to follow the legislation in the state legislature, the ones that I mentioned, and urge your 2 reps and senator to support them. You can go to environmentalpriorities.org to find out more, or come talk to me. I have handouts in my pocket. And lastly, pledge to volunteer with our sister group, Washington Conservation Voters, the political voice of Washington, who really makes an effort to get the champions elected into the State House And the 45th Legislative District is going to be a very important race here in 2017. Woo! And if we all live in Seattle, one thing that you can do is use your democracy voucher to support a candidate for city council. It really helps take money out of politics.
Yeah.
And that is one little step. So thank you very much for being here in this wind and the rain. And we have some good ears here with Senator Cantwell and Murray and Rep. Heck and Rep. Kilmer, and let them be the beacon of light in D.C. for us.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So let's give Mike and Rain a big round of applause for taking time out of their day and coming down and talking to us about issues that matter, because do we all breathe air?
Yes.
Do we all drink water?
Yes.
Yeah, we need to protect that. So thank you, really appreciate it. So now what we're going to do is transition to talk a little bit about a place that doesn't have the same support from their senators that we may do. And that's a place called Buchanan County, Iowa, which is the northeast corner of Iowa. And what I wanted to do was share a message with you from a sister Indivisible group there about how they're feeling and how we could support them. So this is from Peggy Magner. She's leading the Indivisible group there in an area that's a lot of farmland and small towns. She's a retired university teacher, and she wrote me the following email. And before I read the email, she does mention ALEC a lot, which is the American Legislative Exchange Council. Does everybody kind of know? All right, that tells me. If you don't, ALEC is basically a pay-to-play operation. It's an opportunity to connect corporate people with our legislature, and there have even been circumstances of bills being introduced in the legislature that accidentally still have the ALEC logo on it because they drafted it. An example of an ALEC bill is the Stand Your Ground law in Florida, which was partially funded by the NRA and allowed George Zimmerman essentially to go free after killing young Trayvon Martin. Yeah, so ALEC's dangerous, and it is getting much more involved at the local level, not just the national level. So you're going to hear that in Peggy's email. All right, so this is Peggy's voice now. We now live in a red state. It's awful. In Buchanan County, our courthouse is still Democratic, our sheriff is a Democrat, but we worry all the Democrats could be ousted as ALEC makes their move into county, city, and school board politics. A huge problem we have is that we're fighting a two-front war. Our state government is owned by the Republicans, both the House and the Senate. And then we have Trump. We're feeling helpless and powerless right now. We have maybe 15 to 20 people who are part of our Indivisible group in Buchanan County. We have about 12 who come faithfully to our meetings. Our job is to be part of the resist movement. Some people protest in front of our Republican senators' offices and also our Republican representatives' offices. We spend time going to meetings about where town halls are going to be held and crafting the questions that we want asked there. We are making these meetings very uncomfortable for our own Craig Johnson, our newly elected state senator. But it hasn't changed his vote. We all knew he would vote the way he did because he was elected by ALEC money. We worry that our efforts will never work and that our group will tire of our defeats. Please keep reaching out. This is what Indivisible groups should be doing, bolstering each other up. We need your energy. We're in this together.
Good.
So one of the things that we're going to do at the end of the rally today, whether you choose to go in outside or not, we'll gather kind of in the corner outside, and I've brought cards. And what I'd love for us to do is just write a quick note to lift them up in Buchanan County. That's something we can easily do. If we can send 50 cards that I can pack up and ship off to Peggy tomorrow that she could bring to her next meeting, I think we'd really lift their spirits. So we'll do that at the end, okay? Should we give a shout out to our sister Indivisibles in Buchanan County? Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so we're gonna try something a little different now, Alex. We are gonna try our first group tweet about Trump's taxes. And if you haven't done this before, it's okay. You can just listen along and decide if you want to do it next week if you do not have a Twitter account yet. And with that, Alex.
Okay, so if you're like me, Twitter is a little confusing, but let's give it a shot. Today's March 14th, and I don't know about you, but I pay taxes. Anybody here pay taxes?
Yeah.
I hear our president we don't know about.
Yeah.
So let's send him a message. I'm going to attempt this on a BlackBerry, so no excuses for anybody else. BlackBerry. And
Hold the mic.
oh, thank you.
Oh, you don't have a Twitter. Yeah, I don't.
Anybody watching on the Facebook Live, please join in as well. So all you do, you go to the little Twitter icon.
Yeah.
It looks like a bird. You click compose a tweet, and then you want to send it to our prez, which is at realdonaldtrump.com. And he should come up. You got him?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got him.
You got.
Okay.
I wish I didn't.
Unfortunately, we all wish we did. So I'm going to write something to the effect of, I pay my taxes, I want to see yours.
Yeah.
Feel free to write something else. I hear hashtags.
I am a citizen who pays my taxes, and I want to see your tax returns. Yeah, I'll show you. There you go.
Okay, I got my hashtags in. Everybody got their hashtags in? We're good to go? I think I'm tweeting. And it has been tweeted. All right, everybody. Everybody hold your phones up who actually tweeted.
Yeah.
Still working on it. No, it's not easy. I admit it. I'm willing to risk the last remaining BlackBerry to see if this works out.
Alex, call us at 3 a.m. if you respond.
All right, everybody. Awesome job. We'll figure out the Twitter thing better next time. This is an awesome crowd for this kind of weather. It shows the commitment you guys have. Seriously, let's keep it up. And why not? Let's just do a little chant.
Yes.
Release your taxes. Release your taxes. Release your taxes. Release your taxes. Nice job, everybody.
Awesome, Alex, our new social media lead.
The hashtags.
All right, so it's starting to pour now. So, wanted to do a few reminders. I think we're going to skip the spoken word because it's pouring, unless people really want it. We'll do it another time. We're getting more and more artists who want to come and be a part of this. And right now, this was just simply my work, but it'd be nice to have other people, so I think we can skip today. Thank you. So a few things we wanted to remind you of. One, we have the postcard event that happened this week. If you haven't done it yet, please be sure to do it. We also have a couple MoveOn.org events really quick that we wanted to tell you about.
On this Thursday and Friday in Issaquah at Representative Reichert's office, 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Come on out. There will be people there the whole time regarding Trump care, opposing Trump care. So please sign up at MoveOn or just show up at Reichert's Issaquah office anytime Thursday and Friday.
Thank you so much. Jump in.
I just want to say something about helping the Iowa people. If you can get us the county or we can look up who the council people, the representative, the Congress people and the senators. I call, I don't care where it's in the country, I call and I just say, hi, I'm a constituent, and I tell them, a piece of my mind in a kind way, because usually it's a voicemail and they don't ask what your address is, so we need to bolster these people that don't have people who call by calling in where we aren't.
Please don't do that because of that. Better to call them and the people there and go, thank you for calling Heavy Call late today.
So there's the conversation that's happening. There's mixed opinions about whether we should be reaching out directly to members of Congress who are not our members of Congress. And Seattle Indivisible really focuses on our members of Congress, but you guys are individuals and you can definitely make your individual choice. So, and it's Buchanan County is the county. So let's talk about next week, where we will hopefully have sunshine. We have two focuses next week. One is Trump Care, and we have a couple of our Indivisible members who will be here to talk specifically about Trump Care. The other thing, I'm really excited to announce that we have a special guest from the Americans for Refugees and Immigrants who will be here to talk with us. We're also looking at moving the rally next week to 11:45 so that we can get more of the lunch crowd from the offices here. If anybody feels, because what I don't want to do is lose or alienate the folks who've been out here every week. So if that's a big problem for anyone, come and talk to me about it so we can chat. But look for the notice next week if indeed the time changes to 11:45.
Rachel, can you ask them to bring the clips to sign in before back?
Yes, I've actually got them, so we'll bring those back. So for those of you who can take a minute to do cards, we're going to move over in that